in the chapter Angular Momentum in Quantum Mechanics. Till now, we have discussed the concept of orbital angular momentum. In fact, this orbital angular momentum finds its definition in classical mechanics. And in classical mechanics, we define the angular momentum or orbital angular momentum of a particle in this way. You have seen this: L equal to R cross P, where L is the orbital angular momentum of the particle, R is the position vector of the particle relative to an arbitrary origin, let us say O, and P is the linear momentum of the particle. This is actually the classical definition of angular momentum. In fact, this angular momentum L may be expressed in terms of its Cartesian components if you consider that this Lx, Ly and Lz are the Cartesian components of this angular momentum vector L, then this vector L may be written as Lxi plus Lyj plus Lzk. You know it. In fact, the components Lx, Ly and Lz of the angular momentum vector are measurable quantities, or you can say that these are observables. And in quantum mechanics, corresponding to every measurable quantity or observable, we define an operator. So you have seen in the previous lectures what are the operators corresponding to these observables Lx, Ly and Lz. One thing here you should note that when we will write the symbol for angular momentum in a small letter, that actually represents the orbital angular momentum, not the operators. But the symbol in terms of capital L denote the operator corresponding to that observable. So this capital Lx is the operator corresponding to this small lx. A small lx is the observable, that is the measurable quantity defined in classical mechanics, and this capital Lx is the operator corresponding to this small lx. And you have seen and obtained this operator in Cartesian coordinate system in previous lecture, that Lx is equal to minus I h bar y del z minus z del y. Similarly, you have also defined the operators, this capital Ly and capital Lz corresponding to the observables Ly and Lz. You can see here. I have mentioned these things, but these things you have already studied in the previous lecture. In fact, you have seen in the commutator algebra, when I have provided the video on commutator algebra, that these operators obey the specific commutation relations which you have already proved and explained in the previous lecture. So I have just mentioned these commutation relations here, which we have seen earlier, that the commutator of Lx and Ly is equal to I h bar Lz. Similarly, the commutator of Ly and Lz is equal to I h cross Lx, and commutator of Lz and Lx is equal to I h bar Ly. You have seen these things. Since the components of the angular momentum operator do not commute, it means Lx, commutator of Lx and Ly, or Ly and Lz, and Lz and Lx do not vanish. So you say that the components of the angular momentum operator do not commute among themselves. But when when you see the commutation relation of the L square operator with the components operator Lx, Ly and Lz, then you have seen that actually the components of the angular momentum operator commute with the square of the angular momentum operator. So commutator of L square and Lx is equal to 0. Similarly, the commutator of L square and Ly is also 0, and the commutator of L square and Lz is also 0. But don't think that the concept of angular momentum is limited to this orbital angular momentum operator in quantum mechanics. In fact, in quantum mechanics, we define the angular momentum operator in a general form. It means there is no need to the classical analog of that operator. It means angular momentum operator in quantum mechanics may be in such a form that it has no classical analog. Even then we say that operator an angular momentum operator. But when? In fact, you know the commutation relation defined in this equation 1. In fact, these commutation relations you have seen in the earlier lecture determine the quantal properties of the angular momentum. It means the eigenvalues and the eigenvectors of the angular momentum operator are completely determined by the use of these commutation relations defined in equation 1 and the general properties of the Hilbert space. You have seen all these things in the previous lecture. You have obtained the eigenvalues and eigenfunctions of the operator Lz and L square in the previous lecture. So you have seen that the eigenvalues and the eigenvectors of angular momentum operator are completely determined by using this equation 1, which is actually the commutation relations of the components of angular momentum operator. In fact, in quantum mechanics, these commutation relations themselves are taken for the definition of angular momentum operator. So you can say that any quantity or any observable which has even not a classical analog may be treated like an angular momentum operator, but only when the components of those components of that quantity or that vector operator will obey the commutation relations like the commutation relations obtained by obeyed by Lx, Ly and Lz. So in brief, for your convenience, I am writing this very important fact that a vector operator let us say this J. Remember, this J is not a physical quantity, this is an operator. I have told you that whenever I will write the symbol in capital letter, you should think that that is an operator, not an observable or a physical quantity. This is just an operator associated with a physical quantity. So let us consider a vector operator J, and this operator J will be called an angular momentum operator, but only when the components of this J will obey the same commutation relation as obeyed by Lx, Ly and Lz. Then you say that this operator J is an angular momentum operator. So I am just writing for your convenience this important fact. A vector operator J is an angular momentum operator. Angular momentum operator is an angular momentum operator if its components if its components are observables. And if they are observables, you can also say that they are Hermitian, and hence Hermitian. And obey the commutation relations. Just like the commutation relations obeyed by Lx, Ly and Lz defined in this equation 1. So you can say that this vector operator J will be called an angular momentum operator, but only when its components are observables and hence Hermitian, and they obey the commutation relations like these commutation relations defined in equation 1. It means the components of this J must obey the commutation relation which I am just mentioning here. It means that if Jx, Jy and Jz are the components of this vector operator J, then you can say that these Jx, J and Jy must obey these commutation relations. That is, commutator of Jx and Jy, this must be equal to IH bar Jz. Similarly, commutator of Jy and Jz, this should be equal to IH bar Jx, and the commutator of Jz and Jx, this must be equal to IH bar Jy. So when Jx, Jy and Jz obey these commutation relations which I have mentioned in this equation 3, then you say that these Jx, Jy and Jz are observables, and these are actually the operators corresponding to the component of an angular momentum vector operator J, or such a quantity J is then called the angular momentum in quantum mechanics. So I have told you that in quantum mechanics the concept of angular momentum is not limited to the orbital angular momentum, which has a classical analog which is defined in classical mechanics. Now in fact, this operator J or this observable Jx, Jy, Jz has no classical analog. Even then you can say that these are angular momentum operators. But for this, these operators must obey the commutation relations defined in this equation 3. Only then you can say that these are angular momentum operators. So in this way you can say that this is the generalized definition of angular momentum operator in quantum mechanics. So the concept of angular momentum in quantum mechanics is more vivid than in classical mechanics. So on the basis of this definition, when you say that this Lx, Ly and Lz are angular momentum operator, you can now say that since these operators obey the commutation relations defined in equation 1, so that they are called angular momentum operator. Now you can say. But as I have told you that the concept of angular momentum in quantum mechanics is not limited to the orbital angular momentum, but it is just a general concept, and that general definition is the fact that lies in the generalized definition is these commutation relations. Any vector operator whose components obey such a commutation relation, that will be actually called angular momentum operator. Now we can also see such an operator will follow a particular commutation relation. You can see here that now if you want to find the vector product of these two operators, j cross j, j cross j. Remember, if j is a physical quantity, then this cross product will be 0. But since here j is not a physical quantity, this is actually an operator, so j cross j, you cannot say that this is equal to 0. In fact, in this condition, j cross j will be what? You can see that this j cross j, this will be equal to jxi plus jyj plus jzk. In fact, these I, j and k, you know, these are the unit vectors in Cartesian coordinate system, and so you can write this is jxi plus jyj plus jzk. And from the definition of vector product of two vectors, you may write this cross product in determinant form. You can write this as I jk and jx jy jz, and again jx jy jz. Now simplify this result a little bit. You can see this will be actually equal to jy jz minus jz jy, jz jy. You know the determinant operation and I. In fact, in second term in determinant there should be minus, but I have taken here plus, so the order of operation we will just reverse. So you can now write plus jz jx minus jx jz, sorry, j, and plus, now there will be jx jy minus jy jx k. But you know what is this? In fact, jy jz minus jz jy, all these are operators. So this is nothing, this is simply the commutator of jy with jz. You know, this is commutator of jy and jz, and the unit vector is I plus. Again you can see this is actually the commutator of jx and jz. Here is jz, jx jz j, and plus this is commutator of jx jy, commutator of jx jy. and here there will be actually the commutator of I have written actually in opposite manner, so let us correct it. This is in fact jz jx, jz jx, and here will be unit vector k. So you can say that this vector product of these two operators, that is j cross j, is equal to this much. So on the basis of this result, the commutation relations which we have defined in this equation 3 can be written in another manner too. So the commutation relations can be written as, you can write these commutation relations like this: j cross j is equal to I h bar j. J cross j is equal to I h cross j. You may write in this manner the commutation relations defined in this equation 3. In fact, this definition of the angular momentum enables us to treat entities which have no classical analog, such as spin and the isospin of elementary particles, on the same footing as angular momentum. So you know the spin and isospin has no classical analog. But in quantum mechanics, we treat this spin and isospin as angular momentum of the elementary particle. Actually, these are called intrinsic angular momentum. But these angular momentum do not find its definition in terms of the position and momentum, as you define the orbital angular momentum in terms of position and momentum. You can see the orbital angular momentum L is defined in terms of r and p, but spin and isospin has no definition in terms of the position vector r and the momentum vector p. But even after that, these are called angular momentum because these the components of these quantities actually obey the same commutation relation as we have defined here in equation 4 or in this equation 3. And that's why we call those quantities as some sort of angular momentum in quantum mechanics. So you can say that in quantum mechanics there is angular momentum not defined by r cross p. Even after that the quantities are called angular momentum, or basically that is called intrinsic angular momentum or spin. And spin is the property which has no classical analog, and this property is just like the mass and charge of the particle and is independent of the coordinates and momentum or your position and momentum. But even after that, you call it angular momentum in quantum mechanics, but it has no meaning in context of classical mechanics. So you can say that the definition of angular momentum is very vivid in quantum mechanics. In fact, in classical mechanics, the concept of angular momentum is very limited, but in quantum mechanics, it finds its general definition in terms of the commutation relations which I have mentioned here. So you can say that this definition this definition enables us to treat entities which have no classical analog such as spin and isospin of elementary particles on the same footing as angular momentum as angular momentum. You will see later on the spin angular momentum vector is represented by this operator S, and the components of S are observables and they obey the commutation relations like this. S commutator of Sx and Sy, this is in fact IH bar Sz and cyclic. Similarly, you can write the other commutation relations, so I have written here cyclic. And that's why we call this spin as an angular momentum in quantum mechanics, but this spin has no classical analog. You cannot define this spin in terms of the position vector r and the momentum vector p. It means S is not a function of r and p. It is independent of position and momentum, but even after that it is called an angular momentum in quantum mechanics because this Sx, Sy and Sz follows the same commutation relation as followed by Lx, Ly and Lz. So I hope it is clear to you that the concept of angular momentum is not limited to the orbital angular momentum in quantum mechanics, but it finds a generalized definition in quantum mechanics. Any set of operators, or you can say Hermitian operators, which will obey the commutation relations like this, you can say that those operators are angular momentum operators. Now I will talk about the angular momentum of a system of particles in very brief. So angular momentum of a system of particles. Angular momentum of a system of particles. Now let us consider there is a system containing large number of non-interacting particles. Remember, these particles do not interact with one another. So this is just a non-interacting system consisting of a large number of particles. We simply consider that the number of particles in this system is this n. So n is the number of particles in this system, and the particles do not interact with one another. In fact, in this condition, we can take a postulate that the angular momentum operators referring to different particles commute. Let us consider such a postulate. So, let us postulate that the angular momentum operators referring to different particles commute. We consider it. So for this, let us consider there is an ith particle. I have dipped a particle in this figure, and this is, let us say, ith particle. And here is another particle, let us say jth particle. And the angular momentum operator corresponding to this ith particle, let us say, is ji. And the angular momentum operator corresponding to this jth particle, let us say this is jj. As we have postulated that the angular momentum operator corresponding to two different particles commute. So you can then write that the commutator of operator ji and jj, according to our postulate, this will be equal to 0, because we have considered that these operators corresponding to the different particles of the system commute. We have considered it. Here actually the particles are different, so you can say that here I is not equal to j, because we are considering the different particles. It is okay? Now, the operator corresponding to the total angular momentum of a system of total n particles, which are actually non-interacting, is actually given by the vector sum of the operators corresponding to the particles. So you can say that the operator means angular momentum operator corresponding to the total angular momentum of the system. How we will find such an operator? Actually, the operator corresponding to the system of particle, this is nothing, this is simply the vector sum of the operators corresponding to the individual particles. So if you consider that the angular momentum operator with associated corresponding to the first particle is J1 and corresponding to second particle is J2, corresponding to third particle if it is J3, and corresponding to the nth particle if it is Jn. Then when you will take the vector sum of these operators, that will be actually the operator corresponding to the total angular momentum of the system. Or in brief, you may write it in this way: J equal to summation, let us say Ji, where I runs from 1 to n. So this is just a simple technique to find the total angular momentum operator for a system of non-interacting particles. In fact, this idea is very useful when we discuss the atomic spectra. In that condition, you will see that this idea is used to find the total angular momentum, where we talk about the orbital angular momentum and the spin angular momentum, and after adding those angular momenta vectorially, we get actually the total angular momentum. So this concept has a vivid application while we discuss the atomic and molecular physics. Now, from this, when you know the total angular momentum operator of the system, then corresponding to this total angular momentum operator, you can define the components of this total angular momentum operator. So now you can say that this operator J may be expressed like this. This is Jxi plus Jy j plus Jzk. Remember, all these are operators, Jx, Jy and Jz. These are not physical quantities, but these are operators. I have told you earlier, whenever we will write the symbol in capital letter, that will refer here operator, not the physical quantity. In fact, since these Jx, Jy, Jz, which are actually the components of the total angular momentum operator of the system, so these components will obey the same commutation rule as obeyed in general by the angular momentum operators component. So you can say that the operator, the commutator of Jx and Jy, what will be this? This will be IH bar Jz. IH bar Jz. But one thing you must remember here. Here actually, when you say Jx, this is actually the operator corresponding to the x component of the total angular momentum of the system. So in fact, this Jx will be equal to J1x plus J2x plus so on plus Jnx. It means if you want to find Jx, you have to add algebraically the operators corresponding to the x component of the total angular momentum of each part of the angular momentum of each and every particle. So J1x, this is actually the angular momentum operator associated with the x component of angular momentum of first particle. This is for second particle and this is for nth particle. Or in brief, you may write this in this way. This it can be written as Jix summation Jix, where I runs from 1 to n. 1 to n. So in this way you can say that the simple technique to find the total angular momentum operator for a system of particles is very simple. You have to simply add vectorially the angular momentum operators corresponding to each and every particle. And if you want to find the angular momentum operator corresponding to a particular component, either x component or y component or z component of the total angular momentum operator, then you follow the same rule. You have to add the operators corresponding to x component of the angular momentum for each and every particle. Similarly, you can also find the component jy, operator jy and operator jz. In fact, if you want to write the value of jy, that will be what? That will be simply equal to summation jiy, where I again runs from 1 to n, and similarly this jz will be equal to summation jiz, where I runs from 1 to n. Thus, you can say that the vector sum of a commuting set of angular momentum operators is also an angular momentum operator. So this is a very remarkable fact, that the vector sum of a commuting set of angular momentum operator is an angular momentum operator itself. So this was all about the generalized definition of angular momentum in quantum mechanics. As a conclusion, I will told you that when you talk angular momentum in quantum in classical mechanics, it means you are talking about a particular angular momentum, that is orbital angular momentum, because in quantum mechanics this angular momentum is specifically means orbital angular momentum, and that depends on the position and momentum. But when you say angular momentum in quantum mechanics, that does not mean only orbital angular momentum. Orbital angular momentum is also an angular momentum in quantum mechanics, but in quantum mechanics the definition of angular momentum is not limited to r cross p, but it finds its definition in the commutation relation. You have seen, if a set of operators obey the commutation relation like this, which I have mentioned it here in this equation 3, then you say that those operators are angular momentum operators. So the concept of angular momentum is very vast, is very vivid, and very important in quantum mechanics. So in next forthcoming lecture, we will see first of all some of the important commutation relations for this generalized definition of angular momentum, and after that we will see the more rigorous concepts.